The latest polls are in and it's not good news for Kamala Harris and the Democrats. Yes, even after all the softball interviews, biased debates and leftist news coverage, the honeymoon period looks to be over for Kamala Harris, judging by the latest polls. Sky News All-Stars Paul Murray, Andrew Bolt and Rita Panahi take a look at the latest stats making Team Kamala very nervous. The real Kamala Harris is being revealed, and people aren't liking what they're seeing. That's what the latest polling to come out of the US suggests, reveals Sky News All-Star Andrew Bolt.
I sense a shift in the United States, a shift against Kamala Harris. Despite all that media hype after she replaced Joe Biden as the Democrat candidate in the November election for president. It's not just a new poll suggesting Donald Trump is edging ahead in critical states that will tip the election his way. The other day, the Teamsters Union, America's most famous working class union, it's backed every Democrat candidate since Bill Clinton, but this time said no, it won't back Kamala Harris. It polled its members and found that nearly 60% of its rank and file actually preferred Donald Trump.
Mr. Bolt doubled down on this, saying the worrying result has sent the Harris campaign into a panic. Former Trump White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer agrees, saying Kamala Harris's desperation is clear.
Now, Sean, I've noted the astonishing result in the Teamster Union poll of members, the drift of some of the recent opinion polls now, particularly in the swing states, the signs of panic, like saying no to this dinner, for instance. How is her campaign going?
You know, it's an interesting question that you're asking, because the national media in the United States loves to throw out these shiny nickels and say, look at this national poll. She's up by 4 points. Well, that's great, except we don't vote nationally. We vote by state. And right now, when you look at the path to 270 electoral votes, which is what you need to win, I did this on my podcast the other day. Donald Trump's got several paths to victory, several ways to get 270 votes. She doesn't. In fact, if she doesn't win the entirety of what we call the blue wall, that's Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, she loses. Donald Trump just needs to pick off one state. When you look at the state polls that just came up, Trump is up 4 or 5 points in Arizona. He's up 4 or 5 points in Georgia. He's up a couple points in North Carolina. He's doing what he needs to do. It's Kamala Harris that's on the defense when it comes to a path to 270 electoral votes. But the national media doesn't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the erosion in some of these other key demographics. For example, the Hispanic vote, she's up like 20 points. That's great on its face, except for traditionally, that's about a 30-point gap between the Republican and the Democrat. Donald Trump has closed it. So the national media is trying to create the perception through national polls and other things that don't matter that she's actually doing really well and trending in the right direction. But when you scratch beneath the surface and look at what actually will make a deciding factor as to who will be the next president of the United States, who will get those 270 electoral votes, it favors Donald Trump.
Even Fox News anchors were shocked with the unprecedented result of the Teamster poll.
John, this just in. The Teamsters are releasing the results of their member polling on which presidential candidate to back. And here it is, 31% say they support Harris compared to 58% who say they support Trump. The union typically backs Democrat candidates, but has delayed its endorsement in this contest. The union's general executive board expects to announce a decision at some point today. So take from that what you will.
Oh my, put that back up on the screen. Holy moly.
Yep.
Trump, they prefer 58 to 31 over Harris in the Teamsters.
Yep.
If that is the actual number and the Teamsters doesn't come out and endorse Trump, something's wrong.
And the bad news continued for Harris with the release of the New York Times Siena College poll showing Trump's dominance in the battleground Sunbelt state, reveals Sky News All-Star Rita Panahi.
But I wonder if the honeymoon is finally over for Kamala Harris. A new poll from the New York Times Senate College shows Trump winning in the battleground states of the Sun Belt. He leads Harris in Arizona 50% to 45. In Georgia, the margin is 4%, 49 to 45. And in North Carolina, Trump is ahead 49 to 47. And we know, Josh, that historically, his numbers are understated. There's just a shyness factor when it comes to people telling pollsters that they're going to be voting for Donald Trump.
Totally. So, New York Times, CNN considered one of the very best pollsters here in the United States. And this is a great poll for Donald Trump. I mean, they have him comfortably ahead out in Arizona, a state that he obviously has to win. He's leading in most of the higher quality polls out in Nevada as well. Nevada is a state that has not gone for Republicans at a presidential level in 2 decades since George W. Bush won it in 2004. He's looking pretty good in Georgia right now. It's going to come down to those Rust Belt states, which, by the way, is the reason that I wrote a column all the way back in March saying that he should pick J.D. Vance to be his running mate, because J.D. Vance is quite literally Mr. Rust Belt. I mean, he's from Ohio. He wrote Hillbilly Elegy.
Sky News All-Star Chris Kenny agrees, saying Trump is surging back in key states.
Since that better-than-expected performance by Kamala Harris in her debate with Donald Trump, most of the polls have shown her 2 or 3 points ahead nationally. Now, that's not quite as good for her as it sounds, because a 50-50 national split would actually likely lead to a Trump victory because of his standing in the key states. And that's where the latest New York Times poll is encouraging for the Republicans. It's got Trump surging back, especially in the key swing states. In Arizona, which Biden won in 2020, the poll has Harris trailing Trump by 5%. In North Carolina, where Trump snuck a win in last time, he's up 2 points. And the crucial state of Georgia, where Biden held Trump out, the Republican is now 4 points ahead of Kamala Harris. So there you have it. This thing is line ball. I still reckon it could all come down to Pennsylvania, and Harris is still just ahead there.
Another key poll is also indicating a Trump victory. The Buskin Bakery Cookie Poll in Ohio has successfully picked every election winner bar one since 1984, reveals Sky News All-Star Paul Murray.
Put your polls away, put your betting away, put your smart Alex on television away, because there is a bakery in Ohio that has apparently accurately picked since 1984 the winner of the presidential election. Pretty simple. You buy the Trump cookie, the Harris cookie, and they are buying the Trump cookie. Trump has notched up about 54%, or 2,900 of the cookies, compared to 2,100, or 39% for Harris. 397 people have voted independent. So even if all of them went to Harris, Trump would be the winner. So that's it. We don't need an election. That's how the cookie crumbles. Oh, dad jokes.
But despite the clear polling in Trump's favour, leftist media like CNN struggled to report the news.
One of the things that we should note, and I don't know if we can show this number, I want to put this up on screen. Latino voters have moved away from Harris in Arizona. If you believe this New York Times poll, her lead has shrunk by 11 points in that voting bloc. She was at 60% in August, now 49% now.
This commentator blasted the network, saying CNN's Jim Acosta forced to report that Kamala has dropped 11% among Latino voters in Arizona in the last month. We are witnessing the Democrat Party imploding in real time.